States of America and Republic of India will be played. I now request all to rise.
Republic of India, Vice Admiral Rajesh Pandharkar, Flag Officer Commanding in Chief, Eastern Naval Command, Vice Commander US 7th Fleet, Flag Officers, to welcome you all on board INS Jalashwa, included Milan 24, which saw participation of around 50 friendly.
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, good morning and welcome once again Ambassador Eric Garcetti, US Ambassador to India, Rear Admiral Joaquin J. Martinez D. Filinos, Flag Officer Commanding in Chief, Eastern Naval Command. We request you to focus all your questions on the ongoing exercise.
United States Navy, which I served for 12 years, so it's great to see a lot of men and women in white here. And thank you for hosting us here in a place that for years I studied when I was a naval officer, vizag, to see the excellence of the modern Indian military. But as your question said, the relations between our two great nations have never been stronger. We are accelerating every single day the breadth and the depth of our collaboration with each other in order to promote a more peaceful world. I often talk about those 4 P's: peace, prosperity, our planet, and our people. And all of them flow through this exercise. The idea that we can be a force multiplier together for emergencies of a humanitarian nature, as we were together during the pandemic. That we can protect our planet even as it faces the challenges of things like climate change. And that we can build prosperity when we have a peaceful world protected by 2 great militaries. We are proud to be India's #1 military exercise partner now, and in so many other ways to be number one. Number one for sources of students, number one trading partner, number one in terms of, I think, the depth of our ambition together. And just in closing, I would say these exercises don't just do great things between our nations, they do great things between our military personnel, the men and women who we pray will never have to fight a war together or land on a beach to provide humanitarian aid. But if called upon, we'll be ready to do so, and do so in a deeper way than ever before. The US and India are moving forward together, and Tiger Triumph is in some ways the most powerful evidence of that today. First and foremost, when 2 great nations can respond to the deepest crises we face, caused by climate change, natural disaster, or even sometimes a parallel context as we're seeing right now in the West Indian Ocean, as we see the courage and commitment, the strength and the swiftness of the modern Indian military responding to piracy and hijacking, which I'd like to commend our Indian counterparts on. I think 2 great nations often are called on to go outside of our own borders to help nations that don't have the resources in moments of disaster or even of conflict. And so there's certainly a knowledge exchange. We're not exchanging particular technology, but the know-how of how to use technology is a part of this exercise. And I think since the first one in 2019, there are new technological elements of this, and in future ones we may add even more. The nature of warfare is changing, the nature of defense is changing, and as we're seeing around the world in conflicts today, sometimes it's non-traditional weapon systems, non-traditional tactics and approaches to war that we need to be prepared for. So I'm excited to see that technological exchange happening broadly, whether it's the GE engines for the future generations of military jets here, whether it's work that we're doing to look at armored vehicles together. And I look forward to the day when we can only not co-develop, but co-produce, and that Indian factories and American factories help reinforce the peace that we seek in both places. I think when it comes to India, the Indian armed forces are the strongest, and when it comes to the United States armed forces are the strongest. And when we get together, we're stronger than either of us by ourselves.
Your question actually pertains to completely two different aspects. The current exercise, the Tiger Triumph, is here for, we're exercising to assess our response, collective response to a natural disaster that's taken place in a particular area. And therefore the forces here are gathered to come up with a combined response, work out SOPs, so that they can mitigate and minimize the impact of the natural disaster in a given area. The question pertains to whether this exercise will help prevent the Chinese vessels from coming. Well, that's a completely different aspect of maritime monitoring. So this exercise is not dealing with that, but certainly having, since you've asked me the question, natural disaster that's taken place in a particular area. And therefore the forces here are gathered to come up with a combined response, work out SOPs, so that they can mitigate and minimize the impact of the natural disaster in a given area. The question pertains to whether this exercise will help prevent the Chinese vessels from coming. Well, that's a completely different aspect of maritime monitoring. So this exercise is not dealing with that, but certainly having, since you've asked me the question, we have had the recent presence of Chinese research vessels in the Bay of Bengal, and on part of the Navy, we take every measure to ensure that we are monitoring these vessels very closely, monitoring their movements and their activities in the areas around us. We make sure that they do not trespass into Indian waters, and it does not happen in the current case. Effort in this, and the entire aim of this exercise is to make our response, fine-tune our responses collectively, whether it is a pandemic or whether it is any other natural disaster, whether it's cyclone or an earthquake, wherever we need to go and respond. And militaries, by the nature of the preparation, the capabilities, the capacities that they have, are the most well suited to be the first responders. And the Indian Navy has always endeavored to be the first responder in the region, and has always taken that very seriously. We've actually gone around and helping countries around who have sought the help, and made sure that our mission-based deployed ships are the first responders in any given area where a natural disaster, etc., has taken place.